Hi, my name is Jan van Zyl, and today we will be talking about how melatonin actually affects your eyes and your vision and your health. Now, you've got to ask yourself, what on earth has got a sleeping hormone? What on earth has that got to do with your vision, your eye health, and your body health? Well, actually, quite a lot. Melatonin, you won't believe, is not just only excreted by the pineal gland. Your melatonin, which regulates your sleep pattern, your circadian rhythms, your day-night rhythms, it's also excreted by the retina as well. So melatonin is a tremendously strong antioxidant. It has a protective factor for your retina. And if your melatonin levels aren't working well, or if you have excessive stress, now let's face it, we all have excessive stress today. And I think let's talk a moment about how does stress and melatonin actually work together. Well, melatonin is your let's go to bed hormone, let's go and sleep hormone, so that's your relaxing one. While cortisol, your stress hormone, is like fight and flight, let's wake up, let's get going hormone. So these two hormones literally play a very important role in your body and in your vision. Um, and there's actually a very close relationship between melatonin and cortisol. So what happens is at night, when you go to sleep, your melatonin level now basically gets excreted more and more. And even I was surprised to read that it's actually excreted by your retina as well. And as the melatonin normally rises, you find that the cortisol level actually is just stable in your body. So if you are highly strung, you're going to find that at one other point you're going to get tired because your melatonin is now passing the level of your cortisol, and you're going to go knock off to sleep. But if your cortisol, if your stress hormone is elevated, chronic stress, it can cause a lot of problems as well because you can't go to sleep. And 3-4 hours later, maximum, your melatonin levels are going to start dropping down, but your cortisol levels hasn't really moved. And the moment this is like, higher than the melatonin, it's going to wake you up. Now, unfortunately, one of the only ways to get rid of your cortisol is actually to burn it. Because remember, cortisol, as the name indicates, it's the stress hormone, it is your fight and flight hormone. And if you don't do something about it, it's going to stay there. It's going to keep you awake. It's going to wake you up. And I only realized this a year or two ago. I was going through a very difficult period and couldn't sleep as well. And eventually just gave up fighting the night because you feel like you're fighting against the dark. You know that you want to go and sleep, you're tired, but then you're afraid because a couple of hours later you're going to be waking up again. And then like you get into this horrible habit of drinking this and doing that and trying this tease and that tease. And eventually what happens is that you feel like you're fighting the night. And one day I just said, listen, I'm giving up on this. I'm now climbing into bed early because going into bed late just didn't work for me. Didn't actually sleep any more than my sleep was very poor. And then I discovered that if I go and climb on my bicycle, my stationary bicycle, I could actually have an hour or two sleep afterwards. And this led me to do some research on cortisol and the stress hormone. But I wasn't aware of how important the melatonin was until literally very recent. And even I wasn't aware that your melatonin is actually so important. Well, those two hormones are very important. And unfortunately, they work in a inverse rhythmic pattern. So as the melatonin goes up, your cortisol either stays there or maybe goes a little bit down. On the one hand, the melatonin has this protective antioxidant function in your body and in your eyes. It protects the retina. It actually can cross the blood-brain barrier. Quite amazing. Unfortunately, in South Africa, we can't get melatonin supplements over the counter. You have to go to our doctors here to get a melatonin supplement. And some of the latest research has indicated that if you are over 50 or 60 and you have any type of prior risk, family risk of macular degeneration, that melatonin supplementation might be a protective way how you can reduce your risk of going blind due to age-related macular degeneration. I'm going to go down to my pharmacy, my doctor, and actually get myself some melatonin today. For the simple reason that I know that for many years I have struggled sleeping. And if you are struggling to sleep, it unfortunately affects your melatonin production as well. And you have now this inverse relationship between melatonin and cortisol, where the one will protect your body. It's an antioxidant. It'll protect the eyes. Your chances of having a retinal problem, macular degeneration, are less. Melatonin also assists your intraocular pressure. It drops your intraocular pressure. It also assists your dry eye. If you've got dry eyes, melatonin will also actually assist that as well. So melatonin has got lots of functions around your vision. Now, if you have a reduced secretion of melatonin, it can lead to long-term problems with glaucoma. It might lead to your vision being poor. It might lead to macular degeneration. So in the eye specifically, melatonin is very, very important to maintain a good ocular eye health.